Sydney most definitely does not have a shortage of public transportation. I prefer taking a bus, but during rush hour traffic, trains are definitely going to be a better option. The Sydney Commuter Railway serves 178 stations over 815 kilometres of track. The trains operate around 20 hours a day with a break between midnight and 5 a.m. During these hours you can catch a night bus. There are three ways that you can get a ticket. You can either go to a ticketing clerk and ask them to issue you a single journey ticket to your destination. If there's no ticketing clerk, then you can go to the vending machine and buy a ticket yourself. The best case scenario, in my opinion, would be to use an Opal pay-as-you-go tap-on, tap-off smart card. This is a contactless smart card that you use on most of the public transportation in New South Wales. You can grab an Opal card right at the airport as you arrive, or at selected stores around the city. I don't often get confused when taking public transport, but the Sydney trains sure gave me a run for my money. Thank goodness I had an Opal card and Google Maps, else it might have become a very long and frustrating situation. For example, I'm at a relatively small train station and I want to go to St. James's Station. I simply drop a marker on my maps and ask for directions. It gives me not only directions and options for transport of buses as well as trains, but also tells me which train, what time it will come, and which platform I should go to catch this train. That's quite important because it's quite confusing how the platforms work. In this case, I'm going to go to platform 9. Be warned though, sometimes the trains share platforms. So have a look at the display board to make sure that the approaching train does in fact go to your destination. With the Opal card, it's very easy to get on and off public transport in Sydney. Trains, ferries, buses all work on the same tap-on, tap-off system. When you get in the station, you wave your card or tap your card on the card reader and the gates will open. And when you get off, you do the same thing. The system will automatically deduct the fare from your card. However, be warned that some stations do not have clearly marked gates. They're just simply a steel pillar as you pass. Remember to tap off before you leave the station. Sydney gets quite congested during peak hours, like I've said before. So if you're traveling during those hours and you have the option to take a train, I would suggest that you do that instead of a bus. Planes and trains and everything going over at the same time. Jeez. So this is an Opal card. It's about the size of a credit card, and it is a contactless smart card, pay-as-you-go card that you use to pay for just about any kind of public transportation inside of Sydney. You can get your Opal card right as you arrive at the airport, and you can use it right away to take the airport link from the airport to the city. Alternatively, there are over 1,000 retailers selling it, including 7-Eleven as well as Woolworths. Some of the train stations will also have Opal kiosks where you can buy it. Or you can go online and pre-order a card. You can even register a card with your name and address. There's more than one benefit by using this card. The most obvious is the ease and convenience. No need to stand in line to try and purchase a ticket and figure out how much you need to pay and where you're going. Simply tap or swipe the card in front of the card reader at the train station or the bus or the ferry terminal. The gate will open and you're good to go. When you get to your destination, again tap off before you leave the station. Some of the stations don't have gates, they just have card reader pillars. So make sure that you find that pillar and tap off before you leave. Another benefit of this card is that they have great special deals, weekly deals as well as daily. For example, they cap your travel expenses per week. And since I was traveling around all week long on the card, by Friday I'd already reached that cap. So most of my Saturdays and Sundays traveling inside Sydney was free. If you're gonna recharge your card with a credit card, it's really easy. You can do it at almost every train station. You'll find a little Opal kiosk and you can just recharge it with your credit card. Alternatively, if you want to use cash, you'll have to go to a certified kiosk or a retailer and give them cash and they'll top it up for you. Thank you. And if you're leaving Sydney and you still have money left on your card, you can also go to one of these retailers or kiosks and they will refund you the balance on your card. Sydney is a very pedestrian-friendly city. You're definitely going to do a lot of walking in the city, so best you bring a nice pair of shoes. That being said, they also have a nice selection of public transport to choose from. First you have taxi cabs. Very easy and convenient and quick as long as you're not traveling in rush hour traffic. However, I find them also very expensive. In addition to the cost of traveling, there are also different rates for different times. There's also a rate for booking a taxi as well as a rate for waiting. So while I was here, I really didn't take many taxis at all. An easier and probably more affordable option to taxis would be Uber. As far as I know, Uber runs really well in Sydney and is quite convenient and easy to get from anywhere in the city. Other than taxis and Uber, there are also trains, light rails, ferries and buses. All of those use a contactless card called the Opal card, which is a pay-as-you-go card. You can get this card at the airport, at 7-Eleven, Woolworths and at a bunch of retailers and kiosks, as well as some train stations. Sydney trains are, for the most part, very reliable and very affordable. But due to the size of this city, you most likely might still have to take a bus or walk a bit from the station to your destination. The trains here are slightly more complicated to navigate than trains I've taken in other countries. Also, some of the trains share platforms. So even if you make it to the platform where you need to be, you still need to look at the display board to make sure that the next train coming is in fact the train that you want to take. My saving grace for taking trains and any kind of public transportation actually in Sydney was Google Maps. Not only does it give you the times of departure, but also shows you the platforms of departure. There's also a little train that runs in the west of the city. It's called the light rail. I took this from Central Station, and again I had issues finding where this little train took off from, but eventually I did find it, and once I was on the light rail, it was actually a very enjoyable and fun ride. It's a bit like a tram, and it runs through the streets of the city, so you have a nice little view as you're on the train. My favorite mode of transport for sure was buses. There was a bus station right outside of where I lived, and with the help of Google Maps, I could plan and find exactly which times to depart and which buses to take. There are bus stops all over the city, and it will most definitely get you to where you need to be. During rush hour traffic, the bus might take a tad longer, but overall it was my preferred mode of transport. A ride on a bus will cost you approximately $3. If you do need to take transportation after hours, they also have something called night buses. There are fewer night buses than day buses, and they also stop at fewer stations, but they will probably still get you within a fraction of the cost of where you need to be than a taxi, for example. The most fun you'll have traveling around the city, I reckon, will be by ferry. Most of the ferries run from Circular Quay, and they go to Manly, they go to Watson's Bay, and a couple of other places. It's very convenient and very picturesque, and it's definitely something that you should try if you're in Sydney. The nice thing about public transport in Sydney, besides the fact that it is convenient and safe and clean, is if you're using your Opal card, there's a cap on it, a weekly cap. So for example, in my case, I already reached that weekly cap by Friday. So most Saturdays and Sundays while I was here, I was traveling for free.